What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to Bleacher Report. I'm Josh Taylor, and on this week's Topical for the Commanders, we're talking about some news that came out today. Very exciting news. Obviously, there's been a lot that's going on with Washington, and the NFC East is the best division in the NFL, and the NFL thinks so. Obviously, with how the schedule played out, obviously, with how Washington and Philadelphia and Dallas all have so many primetime games, so many standalone games. The Giants, obviously, still the one team really trying to get up there. They're probably a few years away, honestly, but the NFC East is the division to watch this year. It's likely going to be the one seed in the NFC playoffs. And like I said, the NFL knows it with the schedule, and HBO knows it as well. That's right. The NFC East will be the in-season main topic for Hard Knocks this season. I'm excited. They said it really premieres in December. The Buffalo Bills are the team for training camp. I think that one starts around August. But nonetheless, we have a lot to talk about with Hard Knocks. Some fans love it. I personally love it. As much content as we can get on the team and then on the division as a whole. Like I said, this is the most entertaining division. You have the rivalry between Philadelphia and Washington. Obviously, we still hate Dallas. But then, of course, the Giants, they might have a franchise quarterback. And they have some other notable names as well. And then Dallas, adding George Pickens. There's a lot of different storylines there for Dallas as they try to become relevant again and hope that Dak Prescott can stay healthy this season. So I'm excited about this personally. There's a lot of fans like, oh, no, that's the last thing we need. Another distraction or something like that. We do have so many big games. Like, what about Jaden Daniels and all this? And I'm not worried about it, especially with Jaden Daniels. I'm not worried about what he thinks about this. I'm not worried about the spotlight being too big or anything like that. This is the best rookie in NFL history with Jaden Daniels. Broke so many records, took us to the NFC Championship game. So I'm not worried about that at all. I think this is such a great opportunity for other fan bases out there and then just football fans in general to see Jaden Daniels, but then also see our team as a whole, all these other new players that we've added, see the personalities on the team really come out. And then, and as I mentioned, it's not just Washington, but also the Eagles and Cowboys and Giants. So there's a lot to unpack here. But this season, if it's anything like last year, will be absolutely cinema. This is worth getting your popcorn ready for. The thing that I think is intriguing about it is a lot of the NFC East games are at the end of the season. So I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out. Obviously, December will be, how the season started and stuff like that. So there's a lot to catch up on when it actually premieres in December. But nonetheless, this is a great opportunity for the young face of the league with Jaden Daniels. Who is, the PFF had him as the 4th overall player under 25 in the NFL, and only him and CJ Stroud were the two quarterbacks in that list. CJ Stroud came in at like 12, so it's not even close. Jaden Daniels has an opportunity to be the young face of the league where they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Lamar Jackson, they have Josh Allen. All these big name quarterbacks at the top that have been there for a while, but they kind of need that young buck that other fan bases kind of gravitate towards. And I've already seen it a lot with Jaden. And then, we're going to Spain this year. So he has an opportunity to use that platform as well and go international this season. And then with the game on Christmas and all the primetime games on Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Monday, you name it. This is a great year for Washington growing their brand, and then obviously having the draft in 2 years, and then with a new stadium by 2030, there's just a lot to look forward to. Washington is the hottest team in the NFL right now, and the NFC East is the hottest division in the NFL right now, especially with the Eagles. They have Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, a bunch of studs on defense. They just embarrassed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and they arguably have the best roster in the NFL right now. And then the Dallas Cowboys. You'll run into Cowboys fans everywhere. It's the Cowboys, Lakers, Yankees fans that you see everywhere. They're all over the place. And then the Giants, I'll talk about them, break down what is so exciting about the Giants this year. We already got to see them on Hard Knocks last year where everybody was making fun of that situation with Saquon Barkley and how they just fumbled that whole situation. But for us, We added Laramie Tunsil, and believe it or not, Laramie Tunsil is one of these personality guys. I can't wait to see. I feel like there's more to Laramie Tunsil that we haven't been able to see. He's an offensive lineman. They're not going to like highlight him like he's a corner or wide receiver or anything like that. But I really want to see what Laramie Tunsil has in him. I just feel like there's such a personality in there that we haven't been able to see out of him yet that I think can come out a little bit with this opportunity. But then you add Debo. He was already on a Netflix show with receiver. We got to see inside the life of Debo. Now we get to see him on, a different team for the first time in his NFL career. He's now on the East Coast, back, where he started things when he was, going to South Carolina. Then obviously the 49ers draft him. And now he's here. We get to see what Debo looks like on Hard Knocks. I'm excited about that. And then Marshawn Lattimore and the personality that he shows, the feistiness on the field against, wide receivers. We saw it come out against A.J. Brown. We saw it against, Mike Evans. We saw it a good bit of times whenever he's against those top wide receivers in the league. So I can't wait to see that. And then Trey Amos. I think he, once again, is kind of not the same as like Marshawn Lattimore. He's a little bit, he's quiet, but he is just a lockdown corner. Obviously, Sanders. So there's just so many great personalities on our team. There were already a ton. And one of my favorite things is watching these mic'd up videos. I don't know who saw it, but last year when against the Bucs in the playoff game, Bobby Wagner like mic'd up was one of the best things ever. Just seeing his leadership come out. So it doesn't even just have to be like entertainment purposes. It's so refreshing to see someone like Bobby in that leadership role, just a true pros pro, him and Terry. And then obviously Jaden already showing it at such a young age, second year in the league. He already acts like a vet, and he looks great, by the way. I don't know if you saw the pictures that the team just put out. My boy looks yoked. He's been in the gym. But there's just so much to this team to love to watch, and we all love the Commanders lock and stuff like that. Now imagine all of that with the rest of the NFC East and just this chaotic division on HBO Hard Knocks. And I love Hard Knocks. I think it's one of my favorite football shows to watch. And I just want to pull this up here for us. But it is official that the NFC East will be the team or the division for Hard Knocks. And like I said, we play the Giants week 1, so we'll get to see that one pretty early on. And then we kind of go through, shout out to my boy Mason for the tweet, by the way. And we'll get to see it go through the season, have the Cowboys right there around like the middle mark. And then Washington is the only team in the NFL, the entire NFL, that ends the season with 4 straight divisional games. Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles. Saturday night game, Christmas, and then that last week 8 team's probably going to be flexed as well to another primetime game for Washington. And that could win the NFC East championship right there, week 18. That's what the NFL is thinking, and that's why it's scheduled like this. So everyone's competitive. You're not seeing teams rest people for the playoffs. Everyone's still fighting till that last week. That could possibly be the very last game played of the entire regular season. And it's for the 1 seed and the NFC East championship. So just a lot going on there. But for Philly, like I said, the tush push voting was going through. It sounded like it was going to get banned. Got shut down. It was 2 votes short, I believe, from getting banned. And now, they have a chip on their shoulder. They lost some notable names this offseason, especially on that defensive line. They have, reloaded again. Kind of interested to see what Philly looks like. Washington has a really tough schedule. The entire NFC East, when it comes to strength of schedule, one, because they play each other, but the entire NFC East is in the top 8 of the hardest schedules in the league. The Giants have the number 1 hardest. I think Washington's the lowest at 8. I can't remember where Philly and the Cowboys are, but Philly pretty much has a very identical schedule to Washington, but instead of playing Miami, they play Buffalo. So it's even harder. They have some harder teams there on their schedule. Same with the Cowboys. They have a harder schedule than us. As much as we have all these primetime games and stuff like that. So the Eagles have a hard schedule. I am so intrigued to see what they look like. Of course, they have Saquon Barkley. Like, we know what, is going to come out of that. And he's going to add some more highlights to his reel this season. Hopefully he's not hurtling over someone backwards again. But they're going to have this chip on their shoulder like, oh, and I know Eagles fans fed into it, worrying about us more than they were with the Super Bowl, whatever. But Eagles fans are going to put this own chip on their own shoulder that no one else is putting there. I know that there's talk like, oh, Hurts isn't elite. Hurts is getting carried by a good team, blah, 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 whatever. I think Hurts is good. Do I think he's the top 5 quarterback in the league? No. I still think Jaden's better than he is, but I'm not discounting Jaden Hurts at all, or Jalen Hurts at all. I think Jalen's in a top category. I think he's a great quarterback. Does he have a fantastic team? Absolutely, but that's what you want. You want to have a good team. No one's saying you're not allowed to have a good team. So I want to see what they look like. They tried getting rid of the tush push. Didn't work. They're going to run it at will. It's going to be like 3rd and 10. They're still going to run it. They're going to want to just prove a point this season. Hurts is going to want to prove a point that he is an elite quarterback. They're going to show people, oh, we don't care that we lost, Sweat and Milton and CJ Gardner-Johnson and all these other players. I think they're going to have this chip on their shoulder. I don't know if it's going to be a real one or if it's going to be a self-imposed chip on their shoulder, but nonetheless, the Eagles are fun to watch. It's a hate watch. Whenever we're not playing, you daggone right, I'm watching the Eagles play and rooting against them because obviously that impacts us, and obviously we hate the other 3 teams. So just saying, I hate that we have to wait until week 16 to play Philadelphia, but that buildup, it's going to be a hate watch every single week before then. But I want to see what they look like coming off of the Super Bowl. Are they going to take a step back, or are they just going to kind of, pick right up like where they left off? So that's the storylines for Philly that I'm really looking for in this Hard Knocks. And then Dallas. I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of Dallas. Probably the ugliest head coaching hiring of the cycle. Will it pay off? We will see. I don't think it will. But I will say Jerry Jones has made some questionable, some aggressive, some smart, some are smarter than others, moves this offseason. Obviously, started back when he traded for Mingo, traded for Lance. It's like, what the heck are you doing with those? Trading for Khair Lam, trading for Milton, and just a lot of question marks. But then he trades for George Pickens. I'm like, all right, they want to be good again. They are sick and tired of being embarrassed like they were the last, I'd say 2 seasons at least. Can they keep Dak Prescott healthy? Can he play a whole season? And I think this is, this might be a hot take, but I have no problem saying this. I think Dak Prescott's a great quarterback too. I think he can be top 10 in the league. Like when he's healthy and when he's on, when the offensive line's good, like when he has the right parameters, like a quarterback should. I think he's a daggone good quarterback. I have no problem saying that. So I think adding George Pickens helps a lot. CeeDee Lamb is your guy. He can play outside, but I think he's at his best when he's just killing people out of the slot. And George Pickens gives you that opportunity to really stretch the field. Obviously, Jalen Tolbert can kind of do the same thing a little bit. Lost Cooks. So, I don't blame him for making the move. But I think the Cowboys still have a lot of question marks in my opinion, especially when it comes to the defense. But I will say I like their draft strategy. I like how they added Tyler Booker to the offensive line. That's going to be, different looking this season. And I like the value picks they got for Siobhan Revel and Donovan Ezeraku, 2 guys I really like for Washington. But nonetheless, we know Washington and Dallas games are going to come down to the wire. Look at the 2 we had last year. Goodness gracious. Jaden to Terry on that insane touchdown at the end of the game, and then missed an extra point that I will never forgive myself. I cannot believe that actually happened. That will be ingrained in my mind for the rest of my life, that game. And then the Marcus Mariota game where he throws the touchdown to Terry to win it. It just that is just what Dallas and Washington is, especially now that we're good. Um, you just know something crazy is going to happen between the two. I mean, the Turpin kick return, like there's just so much to that game. So we know it's going to be must see TV. And you're seeing one of them on Christmas Day on Netflix in front of the entire world. Everybody was watching those games on Christmas last year, even if they weren't that competitive. They have a heck of a slate this year for Christmas, and we're kicking it off. I feel like that 1:00 game, everyone's already like open presents. Everyone's like, either eating around that time or just kind of like sitting down and talking. Everyone's turning that game on. Everyone's going to be watching that game. So you're going to have that on Hard Knocks, that Christmas Day game, the build up to it. Later on in the season, late December, by this time, we'll already be locked into the playoffs. We'll only have like 1 or 2 losses, hopefully. So there's a lot that can come out of it. But the Cowboys with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens, and Micah Parsons, who's a great personality. Love him or you hate him. I like Micah. With his podcast and everything that he has with Bleach Report, I love Micah. But it's just another personality that you will get on Hard Knocks. You'll get the Jerry Jones insane quotes. I'm sure you'll get. They can probably do a whole chapter on just things that Jerry Jones does and says. But Dallas is one of the more popular teams in NFL history. You have that giant fan base, just like the Eagles, a big, passionate fan base. Obviously, the Eagles are unmatched compared to the Cowboys, in my opinion. But nonetheless, the Cowboys will add a very entertaining, I'll say, notch to that season of Hard Knocks. And I can't wait for it. And then the Giants. I mean, where to even start with the Giants? Like I said, we saw them on Hard Knocks last year. Everyone was talking about, like, how do you not pay Saquon Barkley? How do you let that happen? How do you let Xavier McKinney go? And then he turns into one of the best safeties in the league with the Packers. I mean, insane amount of interceptions. Like, he's a beast. Shout out to X. But I loved just seeing I'll say dysfunction. It seems like not everyone was on the same page. Obviously they kind of wanted a quarterback. We remember the whole thing with Jaden at the combine or whatever, where they were doing the whiteboard with him. Everyone's talking about it and like blowing it out of proportion. Like they never had a shot to get Jaden Daniels as much as they wanted him. It was just entertaining to see how they were running things behind the scenes with the draft, with free agency. And it was bad. It was really bad. There's memes about it. There's just so many times we go back to that. This last season, everyone's like, I cannot believe they let Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles and have, one of the greatest seasons by running back ever. So can the Giants redeem themselves on Hard Knocks? Can they look functional? I do think that the Giants will be better than people expect this year. I mean, Malik Neighbors, one of Jaden Daniels' best friends. I think he has a great personality. He's another one of those guys. He can kind of be quiet at times. When he gets going, he just, he shines. I think he is another one of these guys that can be an up and coming, face of the league with Jaden. You think about Jamar Chase. You think about Justin Jefferson. You just think about those big name receivers that fans like, even if they're not on your team, even if you're not a Bengals fan or if you're not a Vikings fan, you still like Justin Jefferson. You still like Jamar Chase. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be one of those players. Obviously had a crazy rookie season with absolutely no quarterback play. We'll see what happens this year. Speaking of quarterbacks, we don't know how long it's going to take until we see Jackson Dart. But we'll get to see that whole situation play out. You'll get to see how the front office really works with having a quarterback that could be the franchise guy. We don't know. I like Jackson Dart. Personally, he was my second quarterback in the draft behind Cam Ward. I think they got the right one, but we'll see how it goes. Brian Dable, in my opinion, is a good quarterback coach. I go back to his days at Alabama, being an Alabama fan. That's what I really remember Brian Dable by. Didn't really, get that opportunity to have his guy on the Giants. And I feel like Jackson Dart is one of those players that could be his guy at quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. But until then, we have the most entertaining quarterback room in the NFL. You have Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, and Tommy DeVito until we get Jackson Dart. We know that Jameis Winston will say the funniest, most outlandish stuff that will be posted everywhere on social media. I absolutely love Jameis Winston. Was not really a fan of his at Florida State, but just saying, him, go through in his career at the NFL, especially with last year, with like the Browns. It's just, there's so many funny moments with Jameis Winston. And then, of course, he's at a Super Bowl doing media day and all this stuff. We know something's going to happen. And then we know Russ and his corny self. He's going to say some dad jokes. He's going to be, doing just absolutely insane pregame routines and high stepping on the plane. We'll get Russell Wilson content and we'll get Jameis Winston content. That alone is worth saying, all right, Giants, you're definitely invited to to Hard Knocks. We got to see what that quarterback room looks like behind the scenes. Like I said, I think, they have some young stars with Abdul Carter, who I think will be an absolute stud day one, not week one, because he's got to play us with Josh Connolly Jr. But I think Abdul Carter is going to be amazing. I love Abdul Carter. Got to watch him at Penn State, got to cover him for a year and just, see him develop. Absolutely love Abdul Carter and what he's going to bring. And you already talked about Malik Neighbors a little bit, but I think you just have so many young up and coming stars or just big time names in this division. Like, we know AJ Brown, we know Jalen Hurts, we know Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. But then with the Giants, you're like, who do we have? Like Malik Neighbors. We know Jameis Winston and we know Russ. But I'm just thinking about the polarizing big time names. Sexy Dexy. They have a lot of big time guys on their team that people are going to watch too. I personally really like Malik Neighbors. I would love to see him in Washington one day when he demands a trade when his rookie contract is up. But there's just a lot there. And then with Washington, you add Laramie Tunzel, a big time, offensive tackle with, a lot of personality. Deebo Samuel, Marshawn Lattimore, Trey Amos, Mikey Samerstill. And then you got Terry. You got Jaden Daniels. There's just so much there to love and appreciate with this division. As much as we hate each other, we know that we're the best division in football. I can talk trash about the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants all day long. But at the end of the day, we can all come together and say, this is the best division in football. This is the division everyone wants to see. We don't care about it. AFC North, whatever. Who cares? This is the best division. The Giants still suck, but they're trying. But this is what people want to see on TV. These are the games. Everyone was watching those Eagles and Washington Commanders games last year. There's just so much excitement, so much chaos. It's so competitive, and there's just so much hatred in these games. You can't help but watch. You can't help but watch. This is like trash TV in the best way possible. This is your TV shows that you're just addicted to watching. This is it on a weekly basis. When the Cowboys and Eagles play each other and, we're not playing at the same time, you bet I'm watching that game over any other game, or even Giants and Eagles. You could have the Bills versus the Chiefs on. I'm watching the Eagles versus the Giants before I turn on the Chiefs versus the Bills, because that's the game I want to see in our division. And I don't know who all has watched Hard Knocks before and stuff like that, but I think this is just a really good opportunity. Like, I encourage people to go watch the Giants Hard Knocks from last year if you haven't seen it already. They did it in season 1 as well. We really wanted Washington to just be like the sole Hard Knock team for like training camp and stuff like that. And that's fine by me. Like, training camp, Hard Knocks is fine. Like, it's fun. Like, I'm going to watch the Bills one. It should be exciting. They have some great personalities too. Obviously, Josh Allen. But I would much rather see the entire NFC East as a whole for the entire season, like as the in-season Hard Knocks. I'm taking that over training camp and, little practices and stuff like that all day long. Give me the moments we had last year with Washington and Philadelphia, with Washington and Dallas, with the close, ugly games against the Giants. There's just a lot of storylines here. Jaden Daniels' sophomore season, all the primetime games that are going to be featured, all the standalone games that are going to be featured. And I'm just excited to see. This is the biggest stage Washington's ever been on this season. The primetime games, the international game, the holiday games, and then on Hard Knocks. It is amazing how fast this turnaround has happened for us. Yes, it's the Jaden Daniels effect. Obviously going to the NFC Championship game, 12-5 regular season record, breaking all these records as a rookie, passing, running, everything. He's already got moments and equipment in the Hall of Fame after his rookie season. But it's just insane as a whole, as a team, as an organization, how Washington is really viewed right now. And this speaks a lot for it. They wanted this to happen so bad. HBO did. They, talking to some people this offseason, Washington was a big reason they really wanted all of this to happen. Didn't really know if it was going to be like a just Washington thing or just the entire, NFC East. But they wanted Washington to be featured on the show so bad. And I'm glad that they picked it to be the whole NFC East because, like I said, there's just so many players, so many storylines to really keep an eye on for Hard Knocks. Now, I can see the bad in it too. If Washington has a down season, which I don't think will happen, then yes, that'll be on Hard Knocks. Is this going to be a distraction to the team? I don't think so. Maybe past teams, sure. But when I look at this team and how locked in they are, Jaden Daniels already acts like a vet. How this team just prepares, how they play for each other, looking at Dan Quinn and how he coaches, they're not going to let this be some, off the field issue or even on the field, like during the games and stuff like that. I'm not worried about this. I promise you players, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, they're mic'd up sometimes, but they're already mic'd up for games and stuff like that. I don't see this being anything different. You might have a few, extra interviews and stuff like that, but it's nothing different. They're doing media all season long. So I know I saw a lot of fans in the comments being like, oh my gosh, this is not what we need. Like, we're trying to go back to the NFC Championship game. Like, we're trying to pass Philadelphia. The last thing we need is some off the field, thing coming in and really just distracting the team as a whole. And I don't think that's what it is at all. What extra is this adding to the media they already do, to the mic'd up stuff that the NFL already does with them, to the things that the team already does with them, with being mic'd up and all these videos and stuff like that? This really isn't that much different. Like I said, maybe you'll have a couple interviews here and there, maybe some narrating stuff here and there. It's just going to highlight and give you behind the scenes look at stuff, but then also just give the season a more cinematic and detailed, broken down, kind of zoomed in approach to this season. So I'm fine with it. I have nothing against it. Like I said, I'm excited. This is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for the team to be good enough to where we could be on Hard Knocks. We've seen in the past, we wanted it bad before, even though we were a terrible team. We're like, oh man, Washington will be fun this year. Got a new quarterback, got this, blah, blah, blah. Thought it could happen last year. Maybe when we got the new team name, it would have been an opportunity for us when we switched over to Commanders, whatever. But if there's a year that you want it to happen, it's this year with all the opportunities that Washington will have. So do not be afraid of this opportunity, but really just take advantage of it. Be excited about this. We're on this because we have the best division in football, but also because, Washington's finally good. The NFC East is different when it's just Philly's good. Or in the past, it's been just Philly and the Cowboys and the Giants would do something here and there. And then we were terrible. But now it's okay, Philly's really good, but Washington is right there, already right there, already past the Cowboys. Can the Cowboys get back to that? And then how long will it take for the Giants? Can the Giants make some noise? Can they ruffle some feathers and kind of ruin some hopes this season? I feel like they have everything to play for this season, but then also I think Jackson Dart's probably your starter by week 6 or 7 or something like that. Maybe they make some fires along the season. We'll see that happen. But I think the Giants are a team that will be better than people think. And I think Jackson Dart could be better than what people think. So you have that for them too. Even if they, have a losing record or whatever, they'll still be a team that people watch and say, man, maybe they are better than we thought they were. And they'll win some pointless games at the end of the season to hurt their draft stock again. But nonetheless, they could upset the Cowboys late in the season. They could upset the Eagles late in the season. They're not going to beat us. We're going to take care of them week 1, by the way. But it's just so much to watch for this. I am so excited to see this season of Hard Knocks, guys. Like I said, do not be afraid of it. This is a great opportunity not only for our team, but our quarterback, who is slowly becoming the young face of the league. He is playing on so many primetime games, going against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City this year. Obviously, rematch against Caleb, playing Bo Nix finally this year. And then, of course, the Christmas Day game at home in Washington, going to Spain. He's got Ilya Taporia, the former UFC champion who vacated his title, but still one of the biggest fighters in UFC, the biggest one in Spain ever. He's wearing a Jaden Daniels jersey and the commercial over in Spain promoting it. This is such a big opportunity for our quarterback who absolutely deserves all of this. He's doing big commercials with Nike now. Like the possibilities are endless. This is what we've been dying for. A quarterback worth marketing, a quarterback who is taking the league over his sophomore season now. So I'm excited. Let me know what y'all think. And we'll be back this offseason. We've got a lot more stuff to cook up. Obviously, I'll be back next week to do a stream here on Bleacher Report. And training camp is just around the corner. OTAs is starting up. Phase 3 will be beginning soon. So we'll be taking a look at some storylines for that to watch, some position breakdowns. I know it's the offseason, but there's still a lot to talk about. Will Terry get his extension soon? I think he'll get it done before the next stream I do here on Bleacher Report. And head over to the JTFB YouTube channel and make sure you're subscribed. Now that I'm finally moved in, now that I have all my stuff, as you can see behind me, the setup looks a little similar. It's a little different, but mostly have all my stuff back here in Washington. So y'all know I'll be at practices and stuff like that, giving y'all the insight on everything. So I'll see y'all next week, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.